Dylan from Throttle Company in Columbus, Ohio. Right now we're talking about a 1975 Honda CB750.
Mecum.
All right, so this is not your typical. This is the very first bike to go on the auction. We're literally standing at the runway to the auction block here at Mecum. This is the first bike, Thursday. What makes this bike, well, the first thing that stands out, the most unique thing about this was actually put together by Classic Octane, which is a YouTube channel, guy that restores bikes, cars, stuff like that. I'm actually a big fan of his, but this is interesting because he built this bike. So you can watch videos, you can look all this stuff up and see how this was made, see the things he did, choices he made, going through the carbs, electrical. I think he did a paint video on how to do this paint. So he did all the work on this. So if you're a fan of his, this is a pretty cool bike that you're able to buy this. Obviously somebody bought it and then now they're the one selling it, or at least at some point they sold it. What I noticed about this yesterday, you know, this is a very hard thing to get right, the cafe racer thing. And I noticed this yesterday when we were talking about this, when I was looking at this. Oh, it's going out early today. I'll kind of take a peek at it. I do think it was done right. This is a tough side seat. This isn't your $30 eBay seat that most people just slap on there. Like I said, the paint, he did a whole video on the paint process. And it is a little dusty here, but you can see the nuance, the metal flake. It's not just a flat paint job and there's no drips and stuff. It's done well. The gauges, the electrical, these leather wraps on the grips, these mirrors, I like them, they're bar ends. These are Behringer brakes. So he didn't make a bunch of cheap choices. This stuff is done intentionally. And that's what I think is that's what I mean when I say it's hard to get right. Another thing that's hard to get right about this style of bike, this custom cafe racer thing, is to make a cohesive design. A lot of people, what they do is they'll pick, I like this fender, I like this headlight, I like this, seat. But then when they plop it together, it just looks like a bin of parts fell over in the shape of a bike. But this is done intentionally. Say what you want about the exhaust wrap, but this is done correctly, It's nice and tight, it's not falling off, it's not overly weathered. A lot of the things that happen, especially because at least where it was built is in Austin, Texas. A lot of times this gets just, the cheap stuff gets so sun-baked that it's falling off, and the ends of it where you kind of tie it all together, it just looks like it's going to unravel while you're going down the road. This does not look like that. All the little touches that I said, the choices that people make when they make a cafe racer bike, it's not quite as easy as the people make it look, because it's just take a bunch of stuff off the bike, and to do that tastefully is the whole trick. What's interesting here is that I just mentioned that we're a Mecum, and this is not a Mecum bike. What I mean by that is this is not your typical Mecum bike. If you look at these other bikes, or we've seen the other bikes that we talk about, they're typically very stock. And that's a big discussion that you hear among people when they're talking about, oh, this is stock, or this stripe is slightly wrong, or this is the wrong control. None of that matters on this bike. So someone that might be an expert on CB750 is going to come up and say, oh, these are the wrong this, and this is wrong. It's like, well, everything's wrong, you know what I mean? It's a custom. So for that reason, I think it's pretty interesting. We've actually bought a fair amount of kind of cafe racer bikes in the past because nobody else is really looking at it. Because this is the very first bike, people might not be ready yet, or maybe there will be more attention. It's very hard to say about what will actually happen on this, but I'm pretty interested in seeing how it goes.
Mecum.
And now 4,000, you're going to get 5,000, you're going to get 6,000, you're going to get 5,600.